Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fennoy here. Happy Wednesday, or 2/2/22. And I know some of the numerologists went nuts when it was 2/22/2/2/22. But we don't care. It's Wednesday, and that, of course, means another Ask Dave Fennoy Anything, and here I am with a reminder that these Ask Dave Fennoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. If you're interested in voiceover training from me, you can visit davefennoy.com and book yourself. And a couple things. I'm kind of vamping here. Apparently, we're having some technical difficulties. My guest, Gerald Griffith, he clicked in, and for some reason we could not hear him. So he is trying to figure out what might be going on his end, and is going to click in again. In the meantime, get your questions together for Gerald, who is a fantastic businessman and always has great advice for people trying to work through, get into any endeavor. In the meantime, a couple things that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to say thank you to Kayla Jackson again for making this wonderful Dave Fennoy artwork that's sitting there. And wait a minute, do we have him here? Hello, are you there? I think I'll just try to bring you on here. Gerald Griffith, can we hear you?
Third computer.
Yay! So what was the issue?
I have no idea. I'm on the third computer. It's
Well, that's it. Too many computers in the house. And the fact that you are a computer guy. Uh-oh, now we're getting some feedback. Oh my God. You know, I'm gonna have to go to the.
No. Part of being a computer guy is knowing how to pick your battles, and in this case, I had other options to go to, and I went to one.
Okay, well, oh boy, and let me turn my volume down there. You can still hear me just fine, right?
You can still hear me just. I can hear you great.
Oh, fantastic. And everybody else can hear me just fine, all right? Great. Well, it is not a perfect world, and I'm getting feedback for some reason in my headphones.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn mine down a little bit, but I'm on my Mac, so I have to take me a second to get it.
One of the things you might try is headphones. You could plug in.
Complicating things, man. I tell you.
And what's amazing to me, this is your stuff.
Well, I turned it down some. Is it still getting feedback?
That's a little better, I think. And let's see if I can take the headphones off and go ahead, say something.
It was turned up pretty high. I guess it was from something else, but it way down. So.
Okay. Well, there we go. And I think our audience can hear you. And thank you, everybody, for sticking through these issues. I had some things we're going to talk about. I'll mention to them just before we jump in. Hold on. I'm going to go back and just talk, and I'll bring you back in just a minute. A couple things I wanted to talk about coming up on Super Bowl weekend, which I didn't realize when I planned this. I'll be doing a workshop. Now, the participant part of it is all sold out through Terry Berlin. And if you would like to be what I call a fly on the wall, you can still get in. It's 10 to 5 Saturday and Sunday, voice acting for video games. It's an intensive, and you can go to terryberlinworkshops.com if you'd like to do that. Also, wanted to talk about a new piece of equipment that I just received that I'm testing out that I like very well. I use for my regular interface a UA Apollo Quad, and but they're very expensive if you're somebody just getting into the business and you're looking for a good interface. You might want to try something less expensive. One of my suggestions would be the Focusrite 2i2. Well, I have something else to suggest. From UA, it's the Volt. This is the Volt 1. They have the Volt 2. And the price point is very comparable to the Focusrite 2i2. Nice piece of equipment from another company that is one of the industry standards. Also, right there, it's kind of pointing at me right now. You can't see it, but I'm testing out the Synco D2. It's a shotgun mic, very much like my beloved 416. And I have to say, it does a really good job. I've tried it in my booth. Works just great, sounds great. And the price point is about $250, something like that. So if you're trying to get yourself set up, you want some decent equipment that doesn't cost that much, you might try that. The Volt 1 and the Synco D2. Now, let's try again. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Gerald Griffith. And the crowd goes wild.
What's up, Dave?
Well, it's another Wednesday. It's an Ask Dave Fennoy Anything. We've got some wonderful people on, just popping through. Well, hey, there's Jim Tasker. Speaking of legends, Jim, I think you fit that category. Wow, my buddy Michael Glover's there. Hi, Gerald. What's happening with VO Atlanta? Anything like it to follow up? We'll get to those questions. Just letting a couple people say hello. But VO Atlanta is one of those things that I kind of thought was going to go on forever, or at least through the rest of my lifetime. And what made you decide that this was going to be the last one?
Well, I think it's one of those things. Honestly, I'd probably say, it's hard to characterize the amount of effort it takes to do the conference. I've gotten a little more used to it over the years, but it takes longer and longer to do. So even though the conference itself lasts 4 days, it takes the entire year to do. By the time you put together 60 more speakers, and an agenda, 50 things on that agenda, and some years over 200 things on that agenda. It's an incredible amount of effort that goes into it. And so, I look back and the fact that it's been nearly 10 years, it's been 9, this will be the 9th one coming up. Just so much has changed. Personally, my family, different things like that. And so I use the example a lot. I posted the picture in the attendee group where I said, when I did my first VO Atlanta, I was making arrangements for my son to be picked up from kindergarten, and now he's halfway through his freshman. So a lot of life transpires. During that time. I've got a daughter that's in 5th grade or 4th grade or something like that. So, a lot has changed. A lot of good stuff. A lot of stuff at some points. I lost my mom and my oldest brother. In the last couple of years, and a place where it's like, I feel like sometimes you have to step away from one thing to make yourself available for another thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that other thing is right now, but I know that until you make room for it, it's not all.
It can't happen. I'm just going to say there's some kind of sound glitch going on. Sometimes it sounds like you're repeating yourself. I can understand it. And I'm hoping that those who are watching and listening can understand it. But I just want to let you know it's less like echo and more like some kind of repetition. Not sure what that's all about. But let's go back to the beginning. You just got a wild hair up your butt one day and said, "Hey, I know, I'll start doing voiceover conventions." I know that's not what happened. So how'd you get into this?
Not exactly. I hit this rock on my head. No, nothing like that. No, nothing like that. Uh, it really just stemmed from, and we were growing very rapidly at the time, and we had started doing local training and inviting in speakers to come in and teach here locally in the Atlanta market, and that was going really well. And what I noted was on events related to voiceover were in Chicago and New York and LA and Dallas and anywhere but anywhere in the Southeast. And so the initial idea was to provide an opportunity for voice actors here in the Southeast United States to have something that was somewhat drivable to them. So I figured, Florida, Tennessee, Midway, Texas, I guess, and to Virginia. So to me, that was kind of my area that I thought the conference would focus on. And within a couple of years, that expanded much like the meetup group did. And at our point, event so far, we would have people from 20 different countries coming to the conference.
Yeah. Now, let's even back it up a little further. The meetup group. Now, was this meetup group, once again, just because, hey, gee, I'd like to get some voiceover people together because they all have such wonderful voices? Or had you tried to dip your toe in the voiceover pool?
Oh yeah, well, I initially started off more into the voice acting. I've always enjoyed public speaking and doing things voice wise, and working from home as an IT professional. I said, well, this is something I can explore. And so I started taking a couple of classes, and the meetup idea started from the situation where we had only moved here to the back in 2009. And so starting the meetup group had more to do with trying to connect with other voices in the area so that I could get the ins and outs of where to go, where to train, what I needed to know, because online you're going to get the wild, wild west. But I figured if I could meet a few people locally who had some experience and could share some of that or tell me what classes were available, then I would start that. And my initial goal with the entire thing was just to get together somewhere between 10 and 20 people.
And so you were knocking on the voiceover door, but you don't do voiceover.
No. At a certain point, after the meetup was getting more traction, it became clear that there's a lot more interest in the training and someone to facilitate that, which came a lot more naturally to me than trying to, the amount of time I started spending just coordinating training and bringing in presenters and setting up classes and going back and forth with hotels and just making phone calls, and it was a lot. And so at a certain point I said, okay, which one are you going to do? Are you going to leave the time available to work on voiceover, or are you to the voiceover community by helping facilitate really great classes and activities? One I chose.
Yeah, and I gotta say, there's still an echo for those who might be listening. Sometimes at the end of a phrase, it repeats itself, which
Yeah, it's probably the speakers. I can go grab some headphones and see if that helps it.
well, I'll tell you what. Let's grab some headphones right quick.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I will see if somebody has any other questions that just for me, or that I can get ready for you if they have them for you.
Yeah, tell them about your new Old Spice that's coming out. And I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Well, I'll just use this time to say hello to some people. Yeah. We're still happy you were here, but we'll get him back when he comes back. So hello to a few people. Don Elliott, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Gemini Life, good evening. Johnny Groves, what's going on? Yes, Johnny, I am well. Hope you are well. Craig Young, doing the little wave thing and the emoji. Craig, young Gerald have a headset. He should use that. You know, Craig, you were so right, and he's gone to get it. Thumbs up from J. Horace Black. Michael Sessoms. Y'all are coming in 4x4. I have no idea why. We'll find out, hopefully. At one point, Jay said better. I'm not sure we're better. Garrett Davis, there's still an echo, Dave. Yeah, and I know that actually was kind of old. Well, we have the headphones back. Let's see. Woohoo! There he is again. So,
let's see. Let's see here. Nope, that didn't do it. It's this Mac, man.
no, I'm on a Mac, and it works all the time. So you PC guys, it's the PC Mac Wars.
The audio switched over to the headphones here. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine, and I think the echo may be gone a little bit.
I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I think it's still not coming through the headset for the things there.
You know, it only makes sense that the IT guy.
There you go. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Can you hear me still?
I can hear you still.
Let's see here. We just mute the microphone. It will be good. It's showing your microphone coming through. You should be able to hear me, Dave.
I hear you just wonderfully.
You able to hear me, Dave?
Yeah. Still, for some reason, there's a little bit of echo. I don't know what that's all about, but let's move forward. How's it sound now? I hear you just fine.
No.
And that time, I'm not hearing an echo. And you know what's funny is
right.
I know how people feel who are setting up their home studios and are afraid of things like this with clients. And anytime when you're not the expert. Oh boy, now I'm hearing myself come back.
Are you able to hear me, Dave?
I hear you great. Okay,
I can hear you. It wouldn't come through the headphones. It's like the webcam and the headphones are not wanting to get a.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I can hear you fine.
Okay,
but I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm getting the echo back. It takes a second or two before it comes back, but we will press on.
We will press on.
And,
yeah, sorry about that. I don't know where else to plug in here other than the Mac Mini, and it's the Mac Mini, and it's the Mac except my PC is what started this whole.
This is crazy, but anyway. So, from the meetings, 2013, you decided. Well, actually, you had to decide in 2012 that you were going to put together a voiceover conference. How many people came to that first voiceover conference?
Came to that voiceover conference.
50, 160 altogether.
160 people. So that wasn't a bad start. Now, the one thing I do know is each and every year it has grown. Now, I don't know how many people are coming this year. I don't think you probably at this point know how many people are coming this year.
I mean, we certainly got a decent number of signups. I am not going to even go out on any limbs and say it's the same way it would have been in 2020 had that happened, or in 19, because like momentum of things have really shifted around a lot, and the dynamics are a lot. In some countries where people, we would have a lot of interest from. They're under restrictions and people can't travel the way they want. So one of the reasons we have a kind of a revamped virtual aspect to the conference, so that people attended virtually back in April when we did it. They're able to take that as an option and not really have to travel, which for some of them was already a challenging thing, just to travel from some of these far off countries. So it just be at home, enjoy a lot of the elements, and if they miss some of the elements, and if they miss something, recording of it as well.
Well, let me ask you this. On that first one and on through, how did you decide uh, who the speaker should be, and more importantly, what the areas of interest would be?
Well, this is actually a fairly easy one. I don't try to decide. I try to decide on who the people that are community to provide referrals to the people that should be there. And I think that's one of the key things is I don't try to pretend that I'm some kind of guru with the voiceover industry. I try to think that building the best relationship people in the industry who have shown a passion for good work and sharing that knowledge with people that they can then either themselves or through referrals make sure that quality people are there. And then when you say, well, what topics? I said all the time, especially sometimes if it's even people who've maybe not presented as much as they've coached or something, they'll say, well, what should I teach on? And I give them this example. I said, you're an AGU, and they said, yeah, all the time. I said, well, I want you to think back over the last 6 to 12 months. Anytime you found, daggone it, I wish these people would send me the right stuff. I'm tired of them sending me this. I'm tired of them sending me that. I really need this. I really need that. Why can't people just send me what I want? And they're like, yeah, I have those moments. I said, that's what I want you to teach on. To tell people what they need to know so that there's a symbiotic relationship, right? Because I believe that and be successful. But if they don't know what to work hard on to be successful, you're going to get people who are sending you what their auntie told them and what their friends from down the street told them. But if you take it to let the community know what they need to give you, then by extension, then they can go work on those things. They can go train on those things, and then hopefully the quality of what you get. I heard what you were saying at the last conference, and I went and did XYZ, and let me know if this is what you're looking. You can sit back and go, yep, that's what I needed. Not all this other stuff people were saying. Always been kind of what guided that was not me deciding what was relevant, but the people who are in those decision makings to just let people know directly, here's what we need from you.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about you for a minute and how you show up in the world, at least what I see. I remember being at the conference, I think it was 2014, and there were people running around like chickens with their heads cut off because something wasn't going right. And, where's Gerald? And you walked up quite calmly and is there a problem? And these people were, yeah. And you kind of took a breath, and the smile that you have right now was still there, kind of a gentle smile. And you very calmly started to ask the right questions and come up with the ways to solve the issue, but without losing your mind. Tell me about you and that, and how you became a person that is so cool and collected.
Well, I think there's two sides to that. I think the internal me is probably going 1,000 miles an hour at that moment, attempting to process course of action, so to speak. For me, the thing I always start with, regardless of the situation, understanding that whatever I'm about to do is in response to something I cannot change. 90% of the time, they're not asking you, "Oh, I need you to make a decision about something that hasn't yet." Mostly, it's someone saying, "Hey, this has happened. What should we do?" So the first thing is that nothing I can do will change what happened. So what I have to do to the second thing I have to do is understand if they're already in a panic, my adding to that will not help. It's something that is a situation where it starts in my purview or things I'm controlling. What I need to do is to actually attract people in that want to help me. Have you ever worked for someone where anytime something goes wrong, you know that what you want to do is move as far away from that person because they're a loose cannon, they're looking for somebody to blame or hit or go off. Oh, don't be around them and they're gonna curse you out and they're gonna, that's not helpful, because the very people that can help you are the people you're alienating when you do that. And so it's just not helpful, and they can't change what has happened. Either. I give you an example. I mentor some at the high school, and so I'm trusting them with a lot of expensive camera gear sometimes. And so we're there doing a live broadcast, and I'm just about to go live, and one of the kids isn't paying attention to what he's doing, and they knock the camera. It's about a $2,000 package, hits the ground. And all these kids kind of freeze, and they're staring. And I know what they're thinking. And I look back at them and I say, okay, are you gonna pick it up? And later that night, after we're doing our wind down, they're like, well, Mr. Griffith, you're not mad at anything. I said, I'm happy. But the truth is, at that moment, I had a client serve and broadcast this game. Me being up here mad at you is not going to change the fact that the camera fell. There is nothing I can do that will change the fact that it fell. But what I can do is try to hold this group together and make sure we deliver what we promised the client. But any other reaction just is not helpful at that time. So that's
cool under pressure. Now, one of the things that I love about VO Atlanta, that it's not going to be there after this year. You have managed to bring in just about every genre of voiceover.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, voice actors, multi-language voice actors from around the world. What were some of the challenges with the bilingual program?
With the
bilingual group?
Yeah, well, the group, the non-English, they spoke English, but they were but Spanish voiceover, for instance.
Okay, I got you now. I just wanted to understand the question. Well, one of the things with that is, and we did that program for 4 years. I think it was four. A large part of what ended up happening there is that, unlike the English side, where I could call you up and have a dialogue and quick rush through something, when you're dealing with a group that language, you have to depend on a lot of other people to facilitate those conversations. And so that's one of the things. So anytime something would come up, you can't call the person up, because sometimes these would be talent who don't speak English, and so you have to go through a third party all the time. And so there's always that dynamic. Overall, the sessions at the event went generally well. Is more so, I think, some of the cultural differences and communication things that they weren't always persistent. You could certainly tell that there was an extra effort that always had to be made in order to facilitating between the language itself or just the cultural differences.
Well, I'm going to say that one of my fondest memories was, and I don't remember what year it was, but it was the international program was very strong, and my Latin friends there had a party in the lobby. that lasted long into the night. Someone brought a guitar, and I think there was some
Yeah.
congas or bongos. The music
I
was
stayed out the
playing, people
Marriott.
were singing, and we were dancing. It was just fantastic.
Yeah,
I know you
yeah,
didn't plan that,
yeah.
but I'm going to give you credit because it happened at VO Atlanta.
Well, the interesting part about that is, you know, I the piece I play in it. I always say my role is I kind of engage it with the idea that it's just a environment, where people feel like you're safe, like you're safe, it's open, you can engage, and then the magic happens. I think because people naturally want to be around other people. You've traveled different places. These are people that are somewhat like-minded. So talk about different things, whether it's words, and then you just find that people find a way to connect, and a lot of I don't even know about it until months and months, sometimes a year later, sometimes a year later, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't know about that?" I'm like, "I don't have to know everything, as long as nobody gets in trouble."
Yeah, at some time, by the end of the day, I think you're ready to go to bed. So you probably missed a lot of the parties.
Yeah, try to show my face as the sanctioned ones.
Or I have my answer for this, but I'm going to ask you. Um,
Sure.
very often, you're talking to somebody who's trying to get into voiceover. They're working at getting into voiceover, and you mentioned something like, "Hey, well, this convention is coming up, VO Atlanta, and you should go." Why do you think they should go? What's the benefit of going to a convention like this?
Interesting answer to that is I generally recommend that they go. Um, and it's not my first instinct to tell them to come. If they've never instinct is to tell them that they may want to look into finding an intro class, some basic understanding of the components involved in voiceover before they really think about, because let's be honest, I said there's 184 sessions. 84 sessions. Anything you can come there, and my belief was always that if a person comes to your event and they're completely there, that will be the same person who goes back later, and when someone asks them, "Oh, I heard you went to the," "Oh, it was okay, I didn't get that much out of it." Well, it's not that they couldn't get something out of it, it's just that they were so new to the process. It'd be like me showing up at a neurosurgeon conference. Well, I've never taken a class about neuros. Me showing up there and seeing all the lingo, and everybody knows everybody but me, and disappointed. Although there was nothing wrong with the event, I just wasn't in a place where I could understand. I'd taken an intro somewhere.
That's
And
not the answer I expected, but a very good answer. You have to know enough to get to know what you don't know and know what's going to be of value to you.
yeah,
Um, Interesting. I like that answer. Now, so I often say the same kind of thing. People will come to me, "Oh, I want to take some voiceover lessons with you. I'm just starting," and say, "Well, the first thing you do, go find all the free stuff you can. Go to my YouTube page, go to other coaches' pages, and get as much information as you can for free. One, so you begin to learn the lingo, the jargon. You don't have to question what the jargon is when you're paying money, and what are they talking about?" And you might be a little embarrassed. "I don't understand what you mean by that." Um, and let me ask you this. That leads to my next question. What do you think is the best way for someone to get the most out of a voiceover conference?
uh, the thing I say to that is to understand that, first of all, everything that's there is not for you. For you, it's no. And if you go to a college, people don't go to a college with the idea that they're going to take every single class that college offers. You go there and you want to know what classes are required or available to you in the case of electives for you to get the number of credits you need in order to graduate. And then you govern yourself accordingly. So you pick your core electives. It's the same approach I tell people. If you want to uh, do commercial voiceover, then you start off by looking at the agenda by the track. You say, okay, I'm gonna take mostly commercial VO type sessions. There are going to be some areas in there that maybe it's more intro sounding, you don't necessarily need for whatever. I encourage people to mix in one or two business classes in their schedule to help balance things out a little bit in that regard. But also to take the opportunity to venture in sessions where you may not normally get a lot of exposure. Maybe you go sit in on a pro related session or a session or something like that to make it a more well-rounded experience. But the one thing about VO Atlanta, by having so many sessions available, I've always maintained this idea that if you come as an experienced voice actor in the industry a long time, and someone comes that's been in the industry several of years and they're still trying to figure it out, both come to the conference and there are enough resources there for you to fill your plate of interest or whatever, that when you get to the end of it, you both walk away going, man, that was great. I got so much out of that. Even out of it was completely different.
It's almost like your commerce is set up uh, like different grades in a school, or elementary school, junior high, and high school, say. Uh, that if you're new, you can come and you can get something. If you're intermediate, you can come and get something. And I have to say, even having been in this business for decades, I always found something that I learned. I remember sitting in on a panel that was about business narration and how to bill. And I've never done jobs that were paid by the word. Uh, it was quite a surprise to me that these businesses are paying you by how many words, but this was a whole workshop on how to get business, how to talk with people who are you trying to do business with, and how to count the words so that you don't cheat yourself. And things like when you see a number, this happened in 1952. 1952 is not one word. It's 1952. And if you don't know these things, you will cheat yourself out of money. And I don't think I ever want to be paid by the word. It just seems too tedious. But of course, Word will count the words for you. You just have to make sure you correct things like those numbers.
Well, I'm a tag on to what you just described. There about you learning, been in the industry a long time, right? You came to the conference, you picked up something you hadn't, known about before, as far as like counting the words or something, and that's one of the things I share with people who are maybe in the is that in my nearly 10 years of doing this, having worked with a lot of people at a lot of different levels of the industry, what I found so amazing with the people who we call veterans or industry leaders and well-established names is one of the most common questions I would get asked come in as a speaker is it okay for me to attend the other sessions? Because I was wanting to learn a little more about that. See if I could pick up a couple of tips on the social media stuff. It's like there was this constant, and there's always been this constant to learn something new. The irony is the people that are fairly new 3 years now, they were the ones that were saying, no, I don't need that. I got everything I need. I'm thinking, okay, so the people who have been in 40 years and worked on huge projects and are still doing really well for themselves, are continuing to want to learn, but the people all because they watched a few YouTube videos.
Well, the
Well,
world is changing so
the world is
fast,
changing
and
so
the
fast,
business is
and the
changing so
business is
fast.
changing so
I think of the history of the technology. When I came to town in 1990, you had to go to your agents to audition, and you went
Right.
to another studio to work.
another studio
At
to work.
another
At
point, we began to do our own home
our home,
studios. But even then,
but
at first
even
you were
then,
doing auditions. I
at
had
first you
agents in
were
other
doing
parts of the
auditions in parts of
country.
the country.
You do an audition, you put it on a cassette and send
You
it,
put it
which
on a
meant you had to
cassette
get to
and
the
send
post
it
office
to the
or
office
FedEx
or
by 4:30 so it could get to the East Coast.
30
And
so
then there were DATs,
there were
which
that.
better sound but more expensive. Still had to send them. Then CDs,
CDs,
cheaper than the DATs,
um,
but you still had to
cheaper.
send them. And now MP3s. And this whole social media world.
And this whole
I feel
social
like
media
sometimes I'm running
world.
as fast as I can to keep from falling too far behind. But it's how
But
the
it's
business is
how
done
the
nowadays.
business is done.
Um, now,
You know,
it, I know you don't have
don't
everything
have
planned. It's coming together probably in an avalanche with you right now. Uh, but what are some of the new
what are some of
social media
the
people
new
that you're going to have, or the areas that they're going to speak about? Do you know?
to speak about? Do you know?
Well, we have I mean, not to make it sound too routine, but we have a suite of uh, topics and areas we cover: acting, gaming, promo, imaging, commercial, commercial business. We have a specialty area. We have a which is like vocal health. There's some, Vasta is handling that particular someone. They're helping with morning warm ups, just teaching warm up routines in our early morning stuff. Overall, how to maintain a healthy voice so you can keep it healthy over the long run. Long run. Then we have specialty. Cliff Zellman comes and teaches with me every year on automotive. On auto,
Automotive. It's
and
one of everybody's
automotive,
favorite
they think,
workshops.
yeah. So there, there are certainly a lot of topics. The workshops are obviously a traditional part. We do make sure that even if you don't take a workshop, there's so much content that your day with activities, and never take a workshop. And
I'm
the
going to
workshop,
suggest one: social media for voiceover. How do you handle social media?
So how
I
do
have
you handle
seen
social media?
the
I have
world
seen
change so much. One of the reasons we have to sign so many NDAs now, non-disclosure agreements, is
non-disclosure
because of
agreements
social
now,
media.
non-disclosure
And
agreements, and
people who
people
don't have a filter, I think if you're at a certain age, you have a
have a
filter. Some
filter.
things
I
you just
think if
don't put
you're at a
out there.
certain age, you have a filter.
And then if you are younger, I feel like there's a lot of people that, hey,
That
anything that happens in
hey,
my life,
anything that
it's
happens in
open for me to talk about. Uh, so
uh,
businesses
so
don't want
businesses
their commercials,
want their
their video
their
games, their cartoons, their narrations. They don't want
narrations.
those
They
talked
don't
about
want
and out in
those
the public until they do. Which is when they drop it. Then, of course, they want you on your social media. Yes, I'm in this video game. I'm in this cartoon. Any chance we might get a social media expert?
there's some social media stuff in there
Okay.
in the schedule. I don't in the
okay.
schedule. I don't have it in front of me because I'm
Oh,
on.
asking for a friend.
Uh, well, tell your friend that we'll link him up with it on the
Excellent.
website, and he can
Excellent.
party there and see what he finds that is interesting for her. Or her, him or her. I don't want to assume your friend's a male.
Yeah, there you go. I got a question just from out
Got a
of the blue.
question.
Do either of your kids have any interest in voiceover?
Uh, not not any clear. I mean, my daughter's busy with school, and my son's busy with sports at school, so they don't they're not involved in it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pop up a question here.
Okay.
Gemini Life, automotives. Do you want to take that or should I?
Oh, you should.
That or should I?
Oh,
Okay.
you should take her. Yeah. It's voiceover for auto and give them the skinny on it.
Well, automotive, think about how many cars are sold in this country every year. Think about how many cars have to be repaired. Think about used cars. Think about all the dealers. So you have major manufacturers, you have the dealers, and so forth. There is a fortune to be made in automotive voiceover. I have been a Lexus voice for, God, maybe 20 years now. I'm not the main Lexus voice, but you hear me, or at least my daughter always tells me, she said, "Oh, Dad, every time I get in the car and go someplace, there you are. It's almost like you're with me." But it has been a great gig for a long time. Well, imagine if you're the voice of a series of auto dealers across the country or in one part of the United States, that week in, week out, every month, you are doing commercials. Maybe you're not that main voice for the national, but they need the tags on those. They need the new deals on those. They need the legals on those. And all of those pay money, and all that money spends. Automotive is a huge area in voiceover, and those who are in it, and maybe they are not the best known, but they can do way okay. Wait, I got to let's see, got another one here. Garrett Davis. So since Gerald is leaving, he's asking this almost like you're not there. So since Gerald is leaving, will it continue, and who will be his replacement? I know a lot of people have this question.
See, they're already trying to replace me. Wow.
No, you are irreplaceable.
You are irreplaceable.
I don't know the answer to that. I just know that for me, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Whether someone picks up that man, a few people ask about it, but we were so buried in trying to put together a conference that having too much dialogue about what happens beyond that it's too far. But we'll keep everyone posted if something changes.
Well, that leads me to what's next for you. And I know you say you don't know, but I'm sure you've had some ideas. And my question would be, after putting this wonderful VO Atlanta together, voiceover convention that has grown every year until the pandemic hit it. I know you had some issues there, but every year you were getting, another 7,500 people or so. I think in 2019, was it about 600 people?
It was closer to 8. But,
I stand corrected.
7 and 8.
I stand corrected.
And more workshops, more X sessions, more information than anybody could take in. One of the things I liked about it so much, because it's not gone yet, got one more year this year, was that there was so much information. It was so diverse. Or is, Dave, is. It's not gone yet, is. You and Tom Brady, damn it.
I know. I figured it was time,
So did he call you and Gerald, it's time for us to get out?
Yeah, hey, it rolls like that sometimes.
The world is like, well, let's see, I'll make you the Tom Brady of voiceover conventions. No, but seriously, this thing that is about to go away that you put together, and it still kind of hurts a little bit that it's not going to be there, because I have felt it as a fixture in the voiceover community for all these years. This and That's Voiceover are the two best voiceover conventions. They're very different. That's Voiceover one day, the next day you get the Sovas. VO Atlanta, 4 days.
4 days.
Can my camera see me? There we go. 4 days. And so much information, so much varied information, so many vendors who would come. If you want to find out about various equipment, the vendors are there. If you want to find out about how to do damn near anything in voiceover, it was there. And you're the guy who put this together. And once again, one of the things I love about you is you know how to make something great by not trying to do it all yourself, but finding the right people. I'll shut up now and let you talk.
That's the secret sauce. Honestly, people asking, they're like, "Oh, how do you do it?" I'm like, sauce really does come down to having quality relationships to people that to the vision you have of bringing people together, and they share their thoughts, they share their inputs, and the conference is as much a reflection of what people have expressed an interest in as it is anything I've thought of. People come every year, and you may have seen this day. Like I was asking, hey, what would you like to see more of, less of, and we go through those surveys, and we take out some things, and we would add some things. And the interesting part about VO Atlanta for me is that after the conference is over, I always think in my head, like, what do I want someone to say when someone asks VO Atlanta? I don't really want your first response to be a voiceover response. I want your first response to the people you met there, and the relationships you either built or started there, because those relationships in this industry, even like finding speakers and different things, it wasn't like all rosy trying to get people to come, because I was in the VO community, and I wasn't even doing voiceover. I was already doing meetup and different things. So people weren't necessarily jumping up and down that this new guy says he wants to do an event. But I find that as you earn that trust, and that people you reach out to who normally wouldn't return your call, now all of a sudden when someone else makes the referral for you, you get the phone call.
Yeah.
You get the phone call. So the relationships you have are super, as I've stressed at the conference. And Dave, you notice when we do tag, I don't put titles and all that stuff on I'm asked about that almost every year. Hey, why don't you just put like director? Hey, why don't you just put like director or producer or whatever it is? I don't want you running around chasing labels. You shouldn't run around. You shouldn't run around chasing labels. Being there, talk to as many people as you can, because what I truly believe, everyone there is an agent. Everyone at that event is an agent. Now, do they wear an agent title or work at an agency? But I have yet to run into someone who's been in this business for nearly any amount of time, to a job in the last 6 months to a year. And every time they say a year, and every time they say, oh. And so what I'm sharing there is that when you overlook people because you think they're just another talent, they're just as able to send you a referral as someone who's called an agent.
I'll tell you something else. I have met more people who were at the beginning of their career or had been knocking on the door for a little while, but without a lot of success. I remember having breakfast with Trey Mosley, and he told me, man, until I had that breakfast with you, this was going to be, after this conference, I was out. And he played a demo for me, and I went, dude, just, you got this. Keep going. And sometimes that's all it needs. By the way, this is to everybody else. If you've been to VO Atlanta and you have a comment about what you got out of it, how much you liked it, in our last few minutes here, you can make a little note there. I would love to hear that. And I'm going to co-sign again. If you haven't signed up and you're in the voiceover business, I think this would be a good thing to do. I noticed Uh, let's see, Gemini Life. I really hate this will be the last VO Atlanta since this will be my first. Sounds like an amazing time. It is an amazing time. One of the things I've discovered about voiceover, you don't have to have known people in this business before. If you know they're in the business and they are working, there is an instant connection. There's something about running into people who have fought the same battle you have fought, that the kinship is just there. And so often, what we really need is to get out of our home studios, dehermitize ourselves, come together as a community, and lift each other up.
Yeah, I've been seeing fried chicken in Georgia. What more can you say?
I thought you stopped eating all that unhealthy food.
I just pig out and I eat all the southern food, and then I go back home and anymore.
Well, now see, I know better because you're half the man you were when I met you. You lost a lot of weight and you have been keeping it off.
Some of it.
Hey, I got a note here from my buddy Joe Ciprian. Looking forward to seeing you there, Dave. You'll notice he's looking forward to seeing me, not you. It's me. It's me he wants to see.
Oh yeah, I do notice that. Yeah. Yeah, I think Joe's luggage is going to get lost or something.
Oh, and when he was there, Joseph's first time I ever tasted sweet tea. Well, Joe, that's because you're culturally deprived.
Yeah.
And once again,
he brought his
there
wife.
are very few.
So I give him.
You can't just go anywhere and meet Joe Cipriano, who is one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, and one of the most knowledgeable and successful in this business.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dave, look, that ties into that whole thing of to just be there and be a person first.
Yeah.
By virtue of you being at a voiceover conference, people generally make the assumption that you either have an interest in participating with voiceover. You don't really have to spend a lot of time because you're at a voiceover conference. So and in fact, there's a concept I share with people called looking for threads. And a thread is anything the obvious. The obvious is that you're at a voiceover conference, you're associated with voiceover. So I don't want to talk to you about that. Dave, were you ever in the military? What college did you go to? Where did you grow up? Do you like fishing, hunting, horseback riding, swimming, photography, computers? What are you into? Because you know what? If I can get you to have a conversation about jazz, and they're just vibing back and forth about jazz, you'll remember the conversation with me about way more than me saying listen to my demo, which 50 other people have asked you to do.
Yeah. So
and
true.
Later, at the conference, you're thinking like, man, this one guy I met, man, we were just sitting there having a great time talking about these jazz artists, and it was so beautiful, a lot more than running around. Like people say, hey, should I resume? And should I bring a bunch of my demo? I was like, please don't.
Well, it's interesting. That's how we get to know people. And I really believe that your voiceover career actually will do better if you have some interest in some other things other than just voiceover. Any artist, our art is a reflection of life. So as much life and living as you can do will bring more life to your art. A question here, and this is a really good one. Meryl Lynn Friesen Cooley, when is the conference? I don't think we've mentioned it, but it's that last weekend in March 31st through April 3rd. March 31st through April 3rd, and you can go to voatlanta.com, I believe. Yes.
But I can put it in the comment.
Yeah,
if it
just
lets me.
put it in the comments
I
there.
don't know if I have permissions in here. I just
Somebody else's computer, the
give
10
me
or
my.
12 computers you've got in the house.
I will type a message in here now. I'll type a message in here now. Can
If you Google VO Atlanta 2022, it will pop up. And let's see, I got another comment here. Hey, Dave, found the echo. Since you live down the street, I think it's coming through my living room window.
I think it's coming through my living room window.
that was funny.
That was funny. Thank you, Tom. Well, listen, I told you I'd only keep you an hour. And we've
An hour already.
We've
You
hit
got me
that.
for a little extra, man. It took me a minute to get on, so we good. If you want, if you
well,
got something else you want.
Anything you want to say about your years doing this, and anything else about the conference this year? And once again, while you're doing that, anybody who's been and has a comment or has a question, get it in there now. We've just got a few more minutes.
Yeah, I guess it's almost kind of strange. People ask People ask me about last one, but there's an internal piece that you reflect on nearly a decade, and it's a lot to absorb. It still comes back to the people for me, whether it was Pat Fraley at my first keynote, and I mean just all the people, Joan and Rudy, who helped offer advice and support and getting started, and people are thrown off because they're like, oh well, don't they do an event? It's like, yeah, but they were willing to help someone else, and along my path I was able to answer questions that other people had about starting their event simply because of that, because I felt like people were willing to with me, so I should pass it along. But there's just been an amazing life and engagement with the community, and one of the most unique things I think exists in the voiceover community, which I love so much on one hand, and it drives me absolutely crazy on the other, is that, and by that I mean, especially from a planning standpoint, I listen to sometimes kids who aren't even teenagers, or the parents of kids who aren't teenagers, and then 5 minutes later I'm talking to someone who's 60, 70, been retired for 20 years from being a doctor, and now they're doing voiceover as a similar third career, and just to meet people from so many different backgrounds. One of the most fun things is to actually talk to voiceover people about what they did before voiceover. Because very few people I've met knew they when they were thinking about their career path, and so most cases involve them coming from somewhere else things were. It is amazing because you will find people that just did almost any imaginable who somehow ended up on this same path with you. And it just makes for some amazing connections, some amazing experiences shared.
Amazing points of view.
And that's why I just...
Amazing points of view.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's probably one of the worst communities you will ever come across, because where is there not a voice used?
Everywhere. Even if it may be synthetic coming in the future. We'll talk. We'll have a panel about that at VO Atlanta as well.
Yes, we variety to it, and years we've had more variety than others, but at the end of it all, one of the highlights here is there are two moments when I feel most proud of the conference. When I open it, when I look around the room at the opening, and when I look around the room at the closing. This means so much to me personally, because at that moment I see just a room full of people. There are people that are African American, Caucasian, Asian, men, women from all over the globe. We have people from Australia. Even this year, we have someone coming from Switzerland, Japan, South Korea. These are in person people. These aren't virtual. These are in person people that are coming um, from that far away. And so for me to think that something I started with of just trying to get 10 to 20 people, of just trying to get 10 to 20 people to in the little community area metro to get to a place where you have people that are willing to travel from around. Airfare costs 2 or 3 times as much as the admission to the conference, but they feel that strongly about when they put in that kind of effort to spend time, and then they're like, oh my god, this is so we had something like this back where I live, um, and that's what I think is so important, that when people are there to just meet each other, get to know each other, talk to it, even if you just picked up a couple of people that that you had a great conversation with over lunch, but you just pick up a nugget here or there. It might not seem like much when you first get it, but you think back sometimes where you knew exactly what to do at a given moment, and you realize that, I remember I picked this up from this person at some point in the past. He's like, so just try to find those nuggets everywhere you go. Attend as many things as you can. Stuff too. It's not just about VO Atlanta. If people are doing things where you live, try to support them on that.
Yeah. I've got well, this is a little bit long, haven't read it, but
Yeah.
Adrena Gilstrap, I attended in 2018, and the opportunity to meet new friends and be around like-minded people was priceless. I'm looking forward to attending this year and excited to be a part of this amazing event. I hate that it is ending, but hope someone can pick up the mantle again someday. Phenomenal, Gerald. I think that is a fantastic comment, and it sums it up so well. I think as we say goodbye here, one of the things for me was it's energizing. Uh, just being around this many people of like mind who are so dissimilar in so many other ways: age, race, sex, what part of the world they're from, but all there for the same reason, for voiceover, who you automatically feel a connection with because you're all in this same business of voiceover. Um, I say go. The positives are tangible and intangible, and there will be pluses that stick with you years later, from the few days that you spend in the company, in the ether of these people finding their way in voiceover.
Yeah, something will definitely stick with you. Rather, you're gonna leave with something.
Yes, and the jokes started to write themselves, but I'm not going there. Listen, Gerald, I'm going to say goodbye, but I'll see you in Atlanta, and I'm sure I'll talk to you before then. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say about our technical difficulties. I think it's God's little joke because you're a tech guy, and this is what you keep from happening, and yet it happened. And maybe it's my neighbor down the street. It's bouncing off of his house. But thank you.
It's not an aluminum foil.
Well, you wear it on my head. Keep the.
It's all good.
All the best, my friend, and I will see you in Atlanta.
All right, Dave, and keep up the good work, man. I appreciate seeing you popping in there every week doing your thing.
There you go. And thanks for hanging in with all the problems. All right. Gerald Griffith, ladies and gentlemen. VO Atlanta, March 31st through April 1st. If you've never been there, you should go. If you've been there, you know you should go. It's a fantastic, fantastic voiceover convention, and this will be the last one, at least the last one that Gerald is associated with, and he really makes it special. If you're going, I'll see you there. Next week, Eric Romanowski, and in the meantime and in between time, book something.